All right, everyone. It's
You did it
Friday.
again. You did the hitch. You do it every time. Every time. All right. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I know it's your shtick. It just gets me every time.
Look at us with our look at the bright sunny day behind both of our mugs here. It's Friday, April 21st. Hunter Couture, we interviewed him yesterday. Billy and Ed interviewed him yesterday.
That'll be in the second half of this podcast, by the way. It's already on the YouTube. It's already got its own little space, but it will be on the second part. Good reminder. Good call out, Pat.
You know, I'm just doing what I can over here. This is Pat Finn. I'm back. I know I haven't been on the podcast in a very long time, but it's exciting to be back with you here, Billy Ray. I've been moving, as you can see behind me. We got a lot. Just got a lot of miscellaneous things. Like there's a random rogue ski. We got like random artwork. It's been quite a process. Big day tomorrow at Rooms to Go, doing a little bit of furnishing. Got to figure out what the heck I'm going to put in this place. 600 square feet. You got to make the most out of every square foot. Am I right, Bill?
That's right. I'm fired up about this. It is Friday, and I am not drinking a beer yet. I am cracking into a peach vibe Celsius, getting ready for a big afternoon in Arlington, dude. It's gonna be a ton of fun. But we have a million things to talk about with spring game, basketball, all sorts of stuff, and we have a hokey haiku. I know you love when we have a submission.
I do love a good submission, Bill. You got to be careful with those Celsius.
Don't they never more than one in like every 3 days, max.
Okay. It's like dessert. Can't have it every day.
Mm-hmm.
But, twice a week, we're fine. Team, we're going to jump in. We do have a hokey haiku. It's been a minute since I read one of these. But I'm here reading a haiku for the first time from my new Myers Park apartment, submitted by none other than Diablo Fan Account. Throw the guy some love on Twitter. He says, Couture is back. Yes. ACP in his future at NIL Rods.
Nice. Well done. I am so happy that Hunter is back. I gave him a hard time. As soon as he announced, I did shoot him a text. I was like, you sandbagging SOB. You were at the event. I asked you to your face. Are you coming back? I don't know, man. I got to think about it. Nah, you knew. He knew.
I don't know, man.
So we're fired up to have him back for one more year. Pat, we've been talking about launching this for a while, and as you know, I have been known to engage in some Twitter back and forths.
I said it at the live pod at Sharky's. I was like, Bill will get on and he'll ruffle the feathers.
I will. So instead of constantly addressing these on Twitter, I feel like, we should bring up a new segment. For now, we're calling it Talking Tweets. And we just bring up whether it's the smartest, the dumbest, the most conversation-inspiring thing that we saw on the internet. And here's where it is. So I want to talk about the effect that NIL has had on transfers. And I want to preface this conversation by saying, look, there have been a lot of portal winners. Those are the ones we talk about the most. Justin Mutz, Khalil Pimpleton, Gerard Evans, Cam Newton, Taylor Soule, Hendon Hooker. All players who have benefited from jumping in the portal. Now, Michael Brewer.
Baker Mayfield.
Yes. I mean, we can
Williams.
go on and on. Pat, we can go on and on.
Jalen Hurts. A lot of Heisman winners.
Percentage of people, while the list is long, is like 4% of all the people that jump in the portal. And it is always fun to clown Carolina. Pat Finn loves to clown Carolina. Our fan base loves to clown Carolina. But really what sparked everything was two players that were formerly associated with Carolina, and Storm Duck is in the portal for the second time in 4 months. He transferred quack. He transferred out of Carolina in January, and he's back in the portal now. Cam Kelly, who has been doing the world tour, he was committed to Tech. He enrolled at Auburn, transferred to UNC, transferred to UVA in January, and he is back in the portal this week. Now,
We talk
while
about
it is fun,
Can we make an analogy with Cam Kelly for a second?
sure.
I think Cam Kelly's favorite game is musical chairs. He just loves listening to music. Oh, it's so fun. Let's enter the portal. Oh, I found a chair. Oh, all right. A year has passed. Let's get up. Let's go find another chair. He finds another chair. Well, eventually, Cam, there's not going to be enough chairs for you. You
Now,
can't.
while I agree with your take on this, and this is going to be the general consensus with everybody, I want to say this is bad. Like, this is not good for college sports, and it's absolutely not good for the individual. And it is time to start calling out the adults in the room. And by adults, I don't always mean the parents or the people that are advising these kids, while sometimes their advice seems to be very poor and they're making poor decisions, but more so the NCAA. Student athletes for years have been clamoring about amateurism and wanting to be treated as professionals. And the NCAA, after years and years and years of dragging their feet and making wrong decisions or not making decisions at all, has let go of the rope and allowed basically anything to happen. You can do whatever you want. You can go wherever you want. It's all okay. And the problem with that is now when stuff isn't working out, it's no longer, okay, probably not going to play a lot here. Get your degree, keep it moving. And it's turned into college coaches are having to manage their roster the same way that professional coaches in the NFL are managing their roster. If somebody is not playing well, and I've talked to multiple coaches at the collegiate level, not associated with Tech, that say, like, yeah, when you get to a certain point with a player, you basically de-recruit people that are on your roster. You are telling them you need to leave and I'm going to find someone better. And that's just how it's going to go. And I'll just use myself as an example. Like, I went to Tech. I played about 86 career snaps. I didn't have a real meaningful snap in my career, but leaving Virginia Tech was absolutely never something that I considered. And over the course of my time there, I had the respect of my teammates, had the respect of my coaches, and the relationships, the connections, and the things that I learned and my experience in Blacksburg has kind of made me the person I am today. I can't imagine how you're able to learn, how you're able to meet people who can affect your life in a professional setting, and how you're able to be comfortable and prepare yourself to be a professional in something other than the sport you're playing if you're only spending a year or a year and a half on campus. Like, can you imagine transferring to a new school, spending 4 months there, and then getting ready to go to an entirely new school, learn a new playbook, meet new teachers, figure it all out again? I think this is terrible. It absolutely has to be looked at. It absolutely has to get fixed. I don't know what the fix is, but I really, really think that it's damaging the future of these kids.
Yeah, it needs to get figured out one way or the other. I mean, I was having a few conversations over the weekend about the portal, and I mean, before the transfer portal and transfer culture was a thing, it was, hey, if you want to transfer, you can do that, but you need to get approval. You can't transfer within the same conference. You're going to have to sit a year. And I feel like we need to gravitate back towards some of that and limiting the flexibility that is offered, because at the end of the day, it's kind of making it harder for the athletes and not actually giving them the ideal lifestyle and the ideal playing situation that they're ultimately seeking. And it's kind of like a laissez-faire thing where, oh, if it doesn't work out here, I'll transfer, rather than, hey, I'm going to plant my flag in the sand here. I'm going to spend a lot of time here. I'm going to invest in here as they're going to invest in me.
Yeah. And I was talking to some of my old teammates about this weekend. And the first time that I remember specifically dealing with a with a friend or a teammate that was transferring was Calvin Klein. And Calvin Klein, like towards the end of the season of his junior year, he was saying, yeah, I might go to Texas A&M. I already have my degree. They have, a specific like study that I really want to be a part of, and I want to go experience it. And it was a big bummer. Like, I spent a lot of time with Calvin. Calvin was a good friend, and it was a bummer for him. But ultimately, it was a decision that was well thought out and something that he believed was the best for his future. Now, it seems like players are having that conversation with like 15 or 20 of their teammates at the end of every season. Like, every season, you have no idea who's going to be on the roster. It's got to the point where if an assistant coach leaves or a player leaves, you're like, all the dialogue is already, well, so-and-so is going to leave and so-and-so is going to do this. So-and-so is going to go to this school. Like, it just sucks that that's what it's become. And that's why it's so refreshing when I'll just use Tucker Holloway as an example. Tucker Holloway is not just a guy who's here because he wants to play. You can tell that he genuinely loves Virginia Tech. And I worry that we're getting away from the Dax Hollifields of the world, the Sam Rogers of the world, who are not only out of school because they're playing a lot and making a big impact. They legitimately love being in the community and a part of that team. So.
Yeah. Like think of a guy like Trey Turner, who probably had numerous opportunities, especially where after, 2018, Trey was a freshman in 2018. Trey was an impact player in 2018. The first game he ever stepped on the field was the Florida State game. And he made some big plays that game and we won that game. And at the end of the season, after he was able to make his mark on this program, a lot of the veterans, a lot of the older guys, they jumped in the portal in 2018, saw all these guys, as an exodus from Virginia Tech. And Trey stuck it out throughout the entirety of his time at Virginia Tech. There may have been, opportunities for him that he did not go through on. And not every guy is like a Trey Turner. Not every guy is a Sam Rogers. Not every guy is a Dax. Not every guy is a Dalton Keene. Guys who are just love Virginia Tech. So we'll see. On that note,
let me put a bow on it I just want to put a bow on it real quick. In no way is this me being, I'm frustrated to see it happen to any kid. I'm frustrated to see it happen to a kid at UVA. I wish when everybody transfers, it works out. It's just, I think the conversation around transferring is you hear so much about the success stories, but you don't hear about the stories that don't work out. And if you want to go through a crazy exercise, go back on 24/7 for any team and go look up the recruiting class that comes in and see how many of those players, A, are either still on the roster or graduated, or how many of those players never even got the opportunity to graduate. And not to use this word, but it is developing a culture of, oh, this isn't working out. This is uncomfortable. I'm going to go somewhere else because it's not my fault. It's not, it's not something that I can see through. We got to see some more grit from some people, and we need to see more leadership from the NCAA. And that's my thing. I wish everybody that decides to do what they want with their future to do what's best for them. I just don't think there's enough guidance or enough resources to make sure that people are getting what they need to get done and ultimately getting what they should come out of this with is a degree. So yeah, I'll get off my soapbox.
I mean, you see the same thing in corporate America sometimes too.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, you could look at someone's LinkedIn and say like, all right, they were here for 2 years. They were there for a year and a half. They were here for, a cup of coffee.
Yep.
I don't know if they're entering the portal because the culture of where they were. I think it's,
That's such a good point. Like, there have been times where, you'll talk to friends and they'll be like, you know what? Like, I don't really know if this role fits what I want to do. I don't really know if this is the right fit for me. But again, like, what is the next company going to think of me if I took this job and I left in 6 months? It's a good point. Great point.
Keeping the same wavelength on the portal. Seth Greenberg, keeping the same wavelength on this Twitter subject too. Seth Greenberg says college coaches are spending all their time in the portal, ignoring high school players that can help them win. Everyone wants a quick fix when reality, the transfer portal guarantees nothing. Go get guys that you can build a culture with, develop relationships, and coach your team. There's nuance to this conversation.
Yeah, it's not one thing and it's not the other. Like, you can look at, it's very easy from Virginia Tech to look in Virginia Tech color glasses. Like, Mike Young and Kenny Brooks have done a masterful job in the transfer portal. And Virginia Tech football, whether you like it or not, in the last 3 or 4 years has done a masterful job in the transfer portal. It's not how it works at every other school. And I think the reaction to that is there's no real one answer. Like, certain schools are going to benefit from having guys come in. Virginia Tech men's basketball benefited greatly from a guy like Grant Basile coming in, a guy like Justin Mutz coming in, a guy like Storm Murphy coming in. But also, they're benefiting from getting a guy like Sean Padula. They're benefiting from getting a guy like Mansour Delan and having a chance to potentially recruit his younger brother. So I think you really need to balance both things out. The one thing that I am sick of is the Steph Curry thing. Like, I think we really need to let that go. Every other major, university passed on this guy. I have no problems with Seth, but also I hadn't been following Virginia Tech basketball until I got to school. So I do think the Steph Curry thing is getting a little bit old, but so are most of the conversations that we're having around Virginia Tech athletics are getting a little old.
I mean, if it's not the what if Greenberg recruited Steph Curry, it's the what if Shane Beamer was our coach now? Mm-hmm. Well, just because Shane Beamer is winning at South Carolina does not mean he'd be winning here. Just because Steph Curry had a breakout season in the NCAA tournament at Davidson does not mean he would have had the same breakout season at Virginia Tech or Duke.
And you know what? We never have the other conversations. The conversations are never, well, what if Taylor Soule never transferred into Virginia Tech a few years ago? What if Khalil Herbert never transferred into Virginia Tech a few years ago? It's always the negative. As David Wilson likes to say, see the light, see the positive, bring out the positives.
Yeah, let's not forget. What if Frank Beamer actually went through on his promise to go to North Carolina in 2001? What if Michael Vick actually committed to Syracuse and didn't commit to Virginia Tech? People love playing the hypotheticals.
That's true.
It's okay. Hey, it's what makes sports fun. Hypotheticals are huge in sports.
This is a fun segment, Pat. That's 16 minutes of talking Twitter. Let's go.
Now, what transfer or what coach do you think Seth Greenberg was trying to subtweet there?
What coach do I think Seth Greenberg was trying to subtweet? I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. You got to think like something set him over the edge, though.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Not sure.
Yeah, maybe that Celsius will kick in and we'll get something. What else do we got here?
Let's talk about the events. Let's talk about the amazing. I have to say this. Coach Pry, the athletic department, top to bottom, absolutely crushed this weekend. They crushed it last year. They crushed it again this year. And the first thing that we're going in chronological order here, and the first thing is probably the thing that I'm most fired up about. They had a networking night where essentially student athletes were able to go in and have conversations with business owners, entrepreneurs, really successful people in the Virginia Tech community. And I was signed up, unfortunately wasn't able to make it, but I talked to Sean Glennon at length about it. And he actually brought it up. I was like, how's your weekend been? He goes, man, I went to the networking event the other night. Like, I wish that I had an opportunity to do something like that. To have guys go in a professional setting, to go to essentially a career fair, which if you're participating in athletics, when they have that for the school, you usually can't go. For them to have that opportunity, start conversations, make connections, and develop that muscle that they're going to need when they graduate is so important. And I love that. I love that they are not just focused on improving on the field, getting stronger, getting faster, learning the plays. They're also preparing these athletes for the next phase of their career and whatever that's going to be. And I really, really want to commend Coach Pry and the assistant staff and everybody for doing that, because a lot of programs talk about how that's important and a lot of programs talk about how that's something that they're doing. But that is essentially a period of time, resources, and planning that they took out of basically during spring ball and had the athletes do it. So I absolutely love that. And I will not be missing that next year. So hats off to everybody making that happen.
Dorian Strong, they interviewed him for the Hokies FB clip, giving a quick summary. And Dorian Strong, it's a great interview. I loved it. It was cool. I don't know, dude. I watched the clip and I was like, I like that Dorian Strong guy. Like, yeah, he was fired up about doing some networking. And, it made me fired up.
Moving on to the next thing, and again, year 2 of making it work. The For Those to Come golf tournament, such a great show out. I mean, Cam Chancellor, Brandon Flowers, Wyatt Teller, Michael Brewer was there. It was awesome. Who else was there, Pat?
Glennon B. Hill was there. Corey Fuller. It was tough because the weather was a little bit more impactful this year than last year. Oh, George, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Cody Jernell was out there. It was a good turnout again, though.
You honestly got to go through all of the phases of New River Valley weather. You got the cold, you got the rain, you got the sun, you got the overcast, you got the hot. Like you got all of it. You got the fog. But no, I want to commend the Monogram Club for doing a great job. I want to commend Bryce Chalkley for bringing this all together, doing a really good job, second year in a row, working in tandem with the Monogram Club, and B. Hill getting so many guys from when he was at Tech to come back. So that was really, really cool. And hopefully continuing to grow that. So really, really impressive. And hopefully something that they're all like learning from it every single year. And obviously all of the sponsors who make it possible. I think this is really, really cool. So all of the money goes back to the scholarship endowment. I believe those are two big words. The scholarship endowment at Virginia Tech. So, and I played in it this year. I had a good haircut, which I did not have last year. And I did play golf, which I did not do last year. So I had a ton of fun, man. I really, it was my third time ever playing golf. It was a scramble. We actually used my ball a couple of times. So yeah, Pat saw my worst hit of my worst stroke of the day. Ed goes, "Oh, let Pat watch." I'm like, "Dude, Pat's gonna see like my absolute worst shot here." And I hit a 5-iron about 10 yards, if that.
It's not bad. Yeah, you had the orange ball, which was kind of funny, classic. Yeah. Billy Ray came out. He had spent some time at 310 Rosemont. He had utilized the Queens of Castle discount. He bought, this very, very decorative golf polo. He was ready to go. And it's okay, Bill. I heard you did have a good day.
I did.
It was funny. I played with Jay Litt and his dad and his grandpa, Jeff Little and Jack Osborne. We had a good time up there. It was funny because I think we're on the 9th hole maybe. And this caravan of golf carts comes our way towards the tee box. We're teeing off on 9. And it's JC Price, Coach DB, Coach Ferg, Brandon Dillard. Who else was with this group? Coach Prelude. I think that was the 5. And, Coach Prelude and Jeff Little, Radford legends, they were chopping it up for a little bit. And then they had to watch us all tee off. And, just like me watching Bill, chunked it, or I didn't chunk it. I just hit like a, infield fly to the second baseman. Not my best tee shot of the day. I actually don't think I had a single solid tee shot on Friday.
I got to tell you, Coach Price, growing out the hair. Looks great. Looks like he's starting a band. Coach Price is rocking that. I played with Wyatt and his brother-in-law and Ed. Had a great time. An awesome, awesome time. Got to tell you, Wyatt Teller hits the ball pretty far. But no, it was great. Great catching up with him. And then we headed over to the Edmonds reception.
Man, that's got to be the coolest event that I've been to that Virginia Tech puts on, in my opinion. So the German club was in the German club, the 130th anniversary that we had last year. It's probably the coolest event I've ever been to in my entire life. Last April. This year, going to the Edmonds reception in the Sangani Players Lounge. I mean, that is a freaking sweet time, man. I had a ton of fun running into everyone over there, and Coach Pry getting the mic. He's so funny on the mic.
He doesn't need a mic. He's just screaming. He doesn't need a mic, dude. He's like I gotta imagine that when he talks to anybody about anything, it's very similar to when he talks to his team before going out to practice or before going out to a game. It's the there's no place like here. There's no fan base like us, and there's no better time to be here than right now. And I'm fired up. I'm like, dude, it's April. I'm getting ready. We're getting ready for September. It was great. And also one of the two people that steal the show every year, is Coach Pry steals the show. And one of the most wonderful people in the world, Cookie Edmonds, the Edmonds' mother, is in full, this has to go perfect mode. And all of the Edmonds, the most respectful kids in the world, are, oh, yes, mama, what can we do? What can we get done? And everything's getting done. They bring in the barbecue shop from Danville. It's an amazing, amazing event. I can't say enough positive things. They really do a phenomenal job there.
Oh, that was a ton of fun. Got to catch up with Rooster, Coleman Brittle, for those who don't know Rooster, and
Love
Nancy
Rooster.
Brittle, of course. Got to meet Coach Marv, caught up with Coach Foster, got to chat with Mike Saunders. I believe Mike Saunders was class of 66, legend from Virginia Tech football lore. A lot of people, a lot of fun.
Mr. Babcock was there. I ran into Bruce Glatthorn, who somehow I literally see every time I go to Blacksburg. It was great. It's a really, really cool event. And then we were busy, man. Then we jumped right into Spring Jam. Thank you so much to everybody that showed up. First and foremost, thank you so much to Patrick and Charlie setting up an online ticket situation where tickets could be bought before the event. And it was great. We had Riley and Chris working the door. They did a great job all night long. Dan Marshall came out and he played for about an hour. It was great to see all of his friends come out to support. You had Dax there. You had Drake there. You had Cole Blaker there. They all came out. So great to see all of them. And basically, a lot of the folks from athletics and a lot of the folks that were in town poured on down there to McLean's, and we had an awesome time. And then David Wilson, who very transparently, we were excited to have him. We wanted to get him involved, and we're kind of going through the process. And David's like, yeah, I'd love to share my art. We're like, great. Come on down from Atlanta. We'll see you there. And he's going around he's great with fans, going around to every single table. Hello, my name's David Wilson. I used to play running back here. I'm going to play a couple songs. What year did you graduate? Every table is like, yes, we know who you are, David Wilson. Yes, I can't wait for you to play music. We're here to watch you play music. He comes up to me. He's like, man, it's crazy how many people know who I am. I'm like, it's really not that crazy, David. It's not that crazy. So one of the kindest people ever. And yeah, it was great. I had an awesome time. That's an event that we learned a ton from last year, learned a ton this year, the fellowship. And I can't thank enough people. We had the entire men's club lacrosse team rolled up, like 15 or 20 deep. It was great. I had an awesome time.
Yeah, David Wilson, man. I thoroughly enjoy everything about David Wilson. I don't even know where to with that guy. I mean, I met his parents outside of Castle Coliseum in 2011, right after we beat the doors off of Appalachian State, and David had 3 touchdowns. They were just the kindest people. And then we had David on the pod last fall, and that podcast went off the rails. We were just spent the entire time just laughing and learning about, what David's been up to. And he's just hilarious, man. Like,
he loves Virginia Tech too. I think that was big. I don't want to speak for him, but I think it was big for him to come back and realize how much genuine love and like admiration people have for him. And it's reciprocated. Like, he loves Virginia Tech and he loves his time. And it was just great to get him back in the fold. Showed up in his varsity jacket, overalls, and like combat boots. And the guy's doing backflips. Like, he spent the first 10 minutes of his allotted time chatting, talking about what kind of music he does. And that was worth the price of admission itself. I mean, it was unbelievable to watch. It really was. I can't wait to see whatever footage. If somebody has footage of it, I need it. I'm still waiting for Jake Sells to get some of those pictures over. And if you were recording, which I saw a ton of people doing, please DM us any videos that you have of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. His song Fornomic, me and Billy were,
I listened to it today on my run.
We're definitely vibing to Fornomic.
Yes.
And I had to ask him, David, running up on top of Castle Coliseum. No, you did that.
Oh my God.
No, Coach Height was not very happy about it. But he was like, and he says, "Well, I think I should do it again. Like we should make it an event."
He's like, yeah, let's get ESPN out here and let's figure it out. I was like, David, I don't think we can do that. Like we're gonna have to get some sort of permission, and God forbid you fall. And he literally, without skipping a beat, he goes, "If I fall, you guys have great content." I'm like, no, that's not the kind of content that we want. So
he's like, if I fall, I'm landing.
Yeah.
He's landing the trick. But David Wilson, he did say he wants to come to Section 5 this fall for a football game. So we will make sure that we make that happen. But both Dan and David Wilson, great having them out, and couldn't be more appreciative of them. And then what happened? We rolled on over.
The next morning, delirious, waking up the next day again, getting up and having responsibilities again the next day. I have to shout out Pete B from Too Deep, who came up with the idea. We've talked about before doing a live show at Sharky's. We went over, talked to our guy JJ on Thursday, and we had no idea if it would be cool. And he pulls up a chair. What do you guys want to do? We want to do a live show. No problem. Yeah, set up over here, and then you're good. Okay. So PB organized it, came out with speakers, set it all up, microphones, and we had an awesome panel. We had Treadmill Horse, who I had never met. And I also love when notable Virginia Tech Twitter people give their Twitter name before they give their actual name, or just never give their actual name at all. It's just like, what up, Treadmill? And I'm calling him Treadmill the entire time.
And Mrs. Treadmill Horse too.
Yes, and Mrs. Treadmill Horse.
I believe Lisa.
They were wonderful. And then Taliban's, who was great. It was awesome seeing him. Dan the Visionary was there. B Fish pulled up, which was great. It was awesome seeing him. Ed Williams jumped on the mic for a little bit, which was great. Who else came over there?
I want to say, well, obviously
Sam Jesse obviously was there as well. Jesse was part of the panel.
Sam and Jeremy.
And Brian Siegler, of course. Siegler as well. And it was a ton of fun. I mean, it was our first time doing it. I'd love to do that for a game day. We've been talking about Purdue, talking about a couple of those other games, but I think that would be a ton of fun to do. So PB, shout out. I know a ton of work went into that. He had a whole script. He set everything up. It was great. I loved it.
That was a ton of fun. I was feeling it for that first segment, but we had a lot of fun in that third segment, just talking about tailgating, talking about hooky Twitter, kind of just, shooting the breeze and letting it fly. And that was a lot of fun. And I got to tell you, so we didn't get to make it over to the 3.2 for 32, which, perfect running weather.
Yes.
I think we've been blessed with pretty good weather the last few spring games. And my spring game experience when I was an undergrad, I think 3 out of 4 years it rained. I think the year I came back, my first year out, it rained. It was definitely raining at like a 65 or 75% clip, which is a bummer. The last couple of years, spring game weekend has just been perfect, nothing short of perfect. And Billy Wright, I got to tell you, we've been chatting for a long time on this podcast, and we haven't even talked about tailgating. We haven't even talked about the actual spring game. And my take before we talk about the actual spring game is that spring game weekend is the best weekend at Virginia Tech.
Say it again.
Spring game weekend is the best weekend at Tech. I'll tell you why, Bill. First of all, you're getting good weather. Knock on wood, knock on countertop. Here we go. This is my Virginia Tech cutting board that I made in 8th grade. I don't know if you can see that, but it's wood. Virginia Tech spring game weekend is awesome. It's so low pressure. It's not overwhelming. There's a lot to do. I mean, we've talked about 4 or 5 different events. You go out and you tailgate. You do the 3.2 for 32. It's a phenomenal community building weekend. Their gala benefactor dinner happens on Friday night. We don't go to that, but I know that's another great event that a lot of who's who and, donors of probably a lot of money all get to go to that. That's awesome. And they have a great time. I know a lot of the folks from athletics came over after the gala. And then you get to go out and tailgate and go to a low anxiety football game where winning doesn't matter, losing doesn't matter, and it will not dictate your mood for the rest of the day or the rest of the weekend. It's just a very nice little middle, solid, comfortable ground that I think needs to be, I guess, displayed more. Like maybe it's like one of those things like, hey, like don't come to spring game, kind of like what they say, like don't move to Utah. It sucks,
Yeah.
No, spring game is awesome. And so is Utah.
Yes.
But that's kind of my takeaway. It was freaking sweet.
I completely agree. On the 3.2 for 32 thing, it's so great to see how many people participate in that. Definitely want to participate in it next year, but walking downtown to our events, you just see, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. We talk about it all the time. Virginia Tech is such a special community, and that's such a special day. And you saw it all around, people weighing in, giving their support to the university. Chris Fowler had a tweet about it on that day, and it was really, really, really special. So moving on to the spring game itself. Sons of transparency, sons of disclaimers. We stayed for the first half. Billy Ray, you stayed for the first half? You left early? Blah, 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 blah. Yes, I did. We had a long weekend, a lot of stuff. I had a 5-hour drive back to Fairfax. And let me just say it really quickly. All right, it's not really quickly. I'm going to literally talk about a bunch of stuff. But Tucker talked about it on our podcast yesterday. The one moment that stood out to me the entire spring game was the moment where we honored the women's basketball team. I think it was in the first quarter. It was by far the loudest moment of the entire spring game. And what was so funny about it, they bring the entire team out. It looked like Taylor Soule was about to start crying. She's holding the ACC championship trophy. Raven is out there with Coach Brooks. The Hokie Bird is out there. Morgan Gay, our photographer, got some awesome pictures. And the place went nuts. But what's so funny is they read off all of the accomplishments for the year. Crowd goes nuts for like a minute. And they're like halfway through all of the accomplishments. It was like 2.5 minutes of program record, national honor, first time ever. It just went on and on and on and on and on. They got a second ovation when it was over. Loved every second of it. Loved the support. Love how everybody has jumped and followed that team. It's been tremendously special. But talking about the actual football game, just a couple things that stood out to me. I'll pass it over to you, Pat, when I get through this. Grant Wells would be our starting quarterback if the season started tomorrow. And I don't say that in a negative way. He looked great. He had command, good pocket presence. I could truly, truly believe that he took some serious steps forward. So he looked really, really good. Was really impressed. And take a deep breath. A lot of commentary on Kyron Drones, a lot of commentary. I believe the Maroon team. Look, it's really hard to get a grasp of the playbook in 15 days. It's really hard to get some sort of connection with your wide receivers in 15 days, especially when you factor in that most of the receivers on that team were new to the system as well. So it's going to take a while. He also had, the non-benefit of a halfway competent offensive line. Let's call it what it is. He's got a ways to go, but that is why we get out there in the spring, and that's why we have an entire summer to continue to get better and an entire fall camp to continue to get better. So we'll see. That quarterback battle is going to be something that drags on into fall camp, and I'm excited to see how it goes, and whoever it's going to be, I'm going to be excited about it. Any thoughts on the quarterback play, Pat, before we move on?
I would say I'd echo that. Thought he looked great. Thought he looked better than he did last spring game. Know that he has more weapons this year. I feel like you can put any quarterback, year over year with the weapons or lack thereof from last fall compared to this fall, and you're going to have a lot better quarterback play no matter who it is. But I do think Grant did have that spark, and he looked good, and he looked confident as well. And I think most folks would agree and say the same thing. The running back room looked good too. Who'd you like?
I got to shout out Chance Black. Our guy Ringo owns all of the stock for Chance Black. So there's none to buy, but sign into your Charles Schwab account and put it on your watch list. I'm excited about him, but I'm really excited about the entire running back room. Look, I've come on here before and I've said we have so many scholarships with running backs. So many of them are never going to play. It's a really, really crowded room. We still have a crowded room, but it's crowded with really talented backs. You look at Malachi Thomas, you look at Rootin' Tootin'. It's a really, really good room. And I don't know who's going to be the workhorse. I don't know who's going to get the most carries, but I'm really, really excited about that room. And I think it's got a chance to be really special. The one thing that I do want to say is stop taking the spring game rosters and the spring game results so seriously. I am not saying that they don't mean anything, but it means it's closer to meaning nothing than it is meaning a whole lot. If you want to do a fun exercise, I did this before we recorded today. Type in Virginia Tech spring game 20, whatever year you want to do, and read the recap of that and then say, oh my God, like 75% of the people talked about in this article never played that next year. Or the player that didn't play very well happened to be our starting quarterback or our starting left guard or our punt returner. So I think overreacting to the spring game is a fool's errand. At the end of the day, it is a dog and pony show. That is what it is. We are running maybe 6 to 12 different plays. One of the teams, the team that lost, had 0 coordinators on that team. It's very, very hard to make 2 teams out of a team that has a couple positions that are not very deep to begin with. So that's just something to keep in mind. And also you had guys like Chaplin didn't play. I believe St. Germain didn't play. And you're going to hold guys out that probably would play in a normal game if they have some sort of nick or something that's going wrong. But it's a dog and pony show, which brings me into my next point, Pat Finn. Actually, it's in my hot take. We'll save it for hot takes, actually. We'll save it for hot takes. But we're moving on to pylons.
Wait, I got 2 more thoughts. One, Bryce Duke. Bryce Duke looked really good. Tucker looked really good. And lastly, I think Billy noticed it, but it was pretty funny. Chris and Drew and Mary and Dr. J and that whole squad, Karen, Allison, they were all starting the wave.
Yeah, I did notice that. I did.
And trolling myself, trolling Billy.
It's okay in the spring game.
Spring game? It's okay. Fine. It's fine.
We can hand out roses and dandelions if we want during the spring game. Whatever gets people going.
That's true. We're not doing the UVA sway. We're not doing that during the spring game. No. All right. Pylons. It's been a minute since we did the pylons segment. What we're going to do, these 8 pylons today, snake draft style. We're just going to call them memorable moments in the weekend. So I'll go first. Memorable moment for me happened at the Spring Jam. I'm standing at the front, working the door. It's about 10:30. Trey Turner walks in, and I give him a big hug. And it's Trey Turner's birthday today. So happy birthday, Trey. It was great seeing you this weekend. And looking forward, I know you're getting an opportunity up in the CFL. So shout out to my guy, Trey Turner. Bill.
I get to go twice here. Okay. Number 1 is the trip to the cellar. It's mandatory at this point. Every single time you go to Blacksburg, you have to go to the cellar. It turned into let's go to the cellar real quick and get a good night's sleep. We ended up staying at the cellar for probably 3 hours. It was an amazing time. One of the things that stood out to that was Georgia is walking in between that little passageway of Sharky's in the cellar. And everybody who is standing out on the patio for Sharky's and everybody in the cellar, standing ovation. It may have been if it could have been anybody that is super notable. Standing ovation, cheers, clapping, and it just so happens that she was also hosting a recruit. I mean, can you have a better display of how special Hokie Nation is? I thought that was really, really awesome. So I'll take the cellar as my first one. And then the second one that I'll go with was a little self pat on the back. I almost got a hole in one on hole 12. I don't shake.
I am rolling my eyes to the back of my head.
That's fine. Third time playing golf. Wyatt grabbed me and we couldn't see it. It like bounced directly in front of the flagpole. And he said, if you dunked that, I'm going to punch you directly in the face because it is your third time playing golf. And that would really, really bother me. It was not a hole in one, but fun moment. Those are the things, as they say, as the golfers say, that's what keeps you going. So yeah, I enjoyed that. That was my number 2 pick.
All right. My number 2 pick, the Sharkies event was a ton of fun. Big shout out to Pete for putting that together. But just getting guys from different voices of Hokie Nation and Hokie Twitter together was really special. I thought that was a ton of fun. I'd never met Tally before. That guy is absolutely hilarious. It's everything that I expected he was, and he was cracking me up. B Fish, same with B Fish. Good to see him there. And then I just want to give a big time shout out to Pete B, man. We've been following each other on Twitter for, what seems like 5 or 6 years now. And been able to work closely with Pete over the past, 6+ months now. And truly awesome guy and great to hang out with him, especially at the spring game the next day. He was letting the jokes fly throughout the games. Shout out to Pete. And then the next I will put, I was walking out of the tunnel of Section 5 out into the stadium when they were doing the women's basketball honoring. And I thought that was like unbelievably special. Felt myself like getting emotional, just really, really cool. And one of the most memorable moments of the weekend for me, without a doubt. Back to you, Bill.
Yeah. I think it was awesome seeing everybody that we saw, but also Devin Wilson, who has been talking about it for years and years and years, is now working in the athletic department. He is, I believe, the liaison for the Monogram Club now. And he said it for years. He said, my goal is to come back here and be involved in athletics. He was working at San Diego State for a while. He was working at VCU for a while. So I love that Devin Wilson is back in Blacksburg and making good on what he said he was going to do. So it's always great running into Devin, and it was great seeing him back at Tech. So loved that. And also, I would say my last one, a little bit of a cop-out, but I loved how many people came to Section 5. The spring game, you can sit wherever you want. And a ton of familiar faces came over, and we had a great time for that first half. It was great weather. It was awesome. And I appreciate everybody that pulled up and just hung out for the game. It was a ton of fun. Actually, let me add on to that, because I'm going to take this from a 7 to a 10. The amount of students that showed up to the spring game was fantastic. Like, North End Zone was basically full. It was basically full when the game got started early into the first quarter. So I love seeing the participation and excitement from the student body. That was great.
All right. I need one more, don't I?
You do. It has to be the tweet, dude. It has to be the David Wilson tweet at 2:30 in the morning.
That was awesome. Do you want to tell everyone what happened?
We wake up the next morning and David Wilson.
Was that Monday morning or was that Sunday morning?
It was Saturday morning.
No,
because he left right after the spring game, wasn't it?
No, it was like late Sunday, I think. Hang on. Well, let me check. It was on the 16th at 2:27 a.m. So yeah, Saturday, late Saturday.
Anyway,
we were gone. You were in Fairfax. I was in Charlotte at this point.
Yeah, so he's tweeting at 2:30 in the morning, and he's tweeting, I guess, stream of consciousness from 24 hours ago, and it's just Pat Finn lit at 2:27 a.m. Just that's the tweet. That's the entire tweet we sent in the group chat, and it was hilarious. So that was it's our pylons, man. It may have not meant a lot to you, but it meant a lot to us. I thought it was funny. Should we ditch rapid fire? No, we'll keep rapid fire.
We can ditch it.
We'll ditch the first one. I'm just going to give my hottest take. My hottest take from the spring game. I really wish we would start doing this like the All-Star game. You're seeing it in the NFL. I think baseball is moving to this. Let's not play football let's just make this an event where everybody is going to come to Blacksburg anyway. You do the remembrance run, you do all of the events, and then let's just watch like a combine or a dodgeball game or find something that isn't a football game, and let's just watch all the guys have a great time. I think that would honestly be better because so much of the dialogue after the game is just throwaway stuff. Again, it's a dog and pony show. So let me paint you a picture. You head over to spring game, and it's like Oklahoma drills between the O-line and the D-line. It is 40-yard dashes between the wide receivers and the defensive backs. It is quarterbacks throwing into garbage pails 40 yards away. It is kickers trying to hit the top of the upright. Something like that. I think that would be reimagining the spring game. That's my hottest take. I think that would be a cool switch.
That is a hot take. I don't know how many people will be on board with that, but that is a hot take. That sounds like something that'll be good like the next day or the day prior, not actually replacing the game. But people want to see that live game action.
That's true.
People are hungry for live game action. That's why they watch the XFL. I don't know who's watching the XFL, but people do because people love football.
That is true.
Sharkies, shout outs. Billy Ray, what are you thinking?
I first want to shout out an event that I went to last night. Me and Ringo headed out there. It was awesome. The Lunch Pail Ventures event. So it is basically an event for entrepreneurs and business owners in the Virginia Tech community to get together of all ages, meet, network, hear success stories. And I really want to shout out Coach Foster, Christina Daves, Derek Maggard, all the people who made that possible. They had a fantastic panel, met a lot of tremendously successful Hokies. They had it at the Steampunk facility over by Capital One in McLean. It was really, really awesome. So shout out to them for putting that together. And they have another event, I believe, this September in Blacksburg. So check it out. Lunch Pail Ventures. Really, really cool concept, and greatly appreciated that. Pat, who you got to shout out?
Shout out our guy, Rich Luttenberger, Morris County's finest.
Yes.
It was great to meet Rich at the For Those to Come golf event. And then he came over to the Spring Jam, which was great, him and a couple of his buddies. And I know that they had a good weekend. So appreciate you coming out, Rich. Brad and Evan, as always. Great to see Brad Worthman and Evan Massengill, as always. Nels Williams, Morgan Gay for helping out over the weekend. Zach Osmond as well. Really appreciate you guys. I know you guys had a ton of fun at Spring Jam and been grinding really hard all spring and all fall and making things work for the Sun Saturday website and content. That goes for all the other beat writers as well that Nels is working with. And then I know you had a couple more, Bill. And then we can.
Yeah, no, Allie Elkins, Amanda Hurst, the whole crew with Learning Life, Hokie Pugs, Drew, Karen. Really appreciated seeing you all as always. Got to shout out Bonnie. She's always somehow, we're always at the same event. Mrs.
Hokie Hack, dude. Hokie Hack, Bacon,
Hokie Hack.
the Bacon Man, Hokie Hack, Steven, Dr. J. Drew.
Dr. J, that whole crew is fantastic. And again, they meandered over to Section 5, which was great. Obviously, B-Fish, Pete, Tally, Young Visionary, Treadmill Horse, everybody. And I got to say, like, everybody who either played a part in making this weekend possible, whether it was our event, Monogram Club's event, the athletic department, I know so much goes into that. We were just responsible with putting together something that lasted 4 hours, and a lot of planning goes into it. So that's awesome. And shout out to everybody who came back, participated, and made that weekend so special. So those are my shout outs. Anything else before we pass it out to Hunter Couture?
That's a pod. That's a first segment of a pod.
Hunter Couture, everybody. He's back.
He is back.